Today, we're going to tackle a topic that isn't often talked about, and that's burnout. It is real, and it can take a big toll on your life as well as the life of your family. But a lot of us just power through. We kind of chalk it up to a life as a busy parent, as a career person. This is just what it is. Well, we are here to let you know that it is okay to admit that you are overwhelmed and that you're not okay. So here today to kind of open up this conversation for us is Trisha Lawless. She's a mom of 3, and she is the author of Wild, Precious Life, Building Fire Without Burnout. Trisha, thank you for being here.
Well, thank you for having me. I'm so excited for this conversation with you, Felicia.
I think this is going to be a therapy session. I also think a lot of people are going to be able to relate to what we're talking about here. So you actually were a former journalist. You were a TV anchor.
Yes, I was for many years.
Yes, and then you decided to make a shift and you ended up where?
I ended up doing corporate communications, kind of behind the scenes. Still writing is my main theme, but it just became pretty apparent as my kids were getting a little older that working the night shift and doing news day after day wasn't really compatible with what I needed. So happily made the change, and I can still keep writing and storytelling, a big piece of my life.
Yes, yes, I love it. Okay, we're gonna get more into it. I just wanted to kind of set the stage so people kind of understand. Let's actually start with how to spot the signs of burnout as a juggling parent, and you're juggling many responsibilities. What are those signs?
Yeah, and I think of burnout as being more than just tired, because everyone gets tired, right? But it's feeling depleted. And I remember describing when my kids were younger and I was going through my first epic burnout, feeling like I was a dish rag, like a wrung out dish rag, like just dried up, nothing left. So depleted that I was having physical symptoms. You're getting aches, you're getting headaches. You've got some people have migraines, not able to sleep. People around you may be telling you, I'm concerned, you don't seem like yourself. You kind of lose some of your joy. You can deal with depression if you're in extreme burnout, because going through the grind of a daily life that's not sustainable can really take a toll on your mental health. So those are just some of the signs. I'm sure you've experienced moments where you feel some of those, and the pressure can build to where you're so far past your capacity. One little thing can make you snap and cause kind of a catastrophic emotional situation.
Yeah, an emotional blow up, if you will. Okay, so those are the symptoms that you are experiencing, because in your book you talked about 3 major times that you did see burnout, and that you kind of saw the same things happening where you're just misaligned, but even beyond that, it being physical, emotional, psychological, it sounds like. I want to really contrast those emotions and feelings, because I think a lot of people are like, yeah, that's my everyday. What are you talking about? There are probably a lot of functional depression people walking around, which is a whole nother topic. But how did you feel when you walked away from your TV job that you did for several years? It was 15 years?
15 years at 3 different stations in 3 different places. So the feeling, I had really come to a point where I knew for the last year or 2 that it really wasn't working for me anymore. I had young kids, including a newborn. Difficulty going on all over the place, and just the job just wasn't sparking my joy anymore. And it became so exhausting that I was really starting to lose myself, the physical pain and exhaustion, and just feeling like I was missing the important things with my kids that were really heartbreaking to me. I have a baseball player who's now a college baseball player.
Congratulations.
Thank you. And he was just starting to really excel, and I would be sitting on the anchor desk crying when I knew he was pitching, and I'd be getting a text message during a commercial break that he just did great and I was missing it, and I just knew I had to make a change.
Right.
So when I decided to step away, and it took a long time, and I wrote a first book about that whole process of kind of coming to terms and finding a new opportunity. But when I finally left and walked away, that's the chapter I opened this book with. I'm waving goodbye to the makeup mirror and taking one last picture. And I felt so free, as though a huge weight had come off. I was just ready, and so ready for a new start, a new beginning, and to really reset and reframe. So it was incredibly freeing and empowering. But I also realized that some of the problem with burnout is a situation that maybe doesn't fit, and part of it's internal. So if you are wired to be a high achiever and to go, go, go and please everyone and give 1,000%, you're probably going to hit that same pattern again in a different situation, which is what happened to me.
Okay. So I'm sure a lot of people are watching this and already they're like, okay, but I need this job. You know, I have responsibilities. I have people that I need to take care of. Leaving is just not an option. What would you say to that person?
What worked for me, and I was in that position, I couldn't just walk away. So you've got to lean on your network. And I asked for 15-minute phone calls with all kinds of people I love, trust, had worked with in the past, asked them to keep it confidential, but just let them know I was exploring other opportunities, accepted any ideas they would give me, any connections, and it takes time.
Yeah.
But eventually one of those connections led to the opportunity that ended up being a great fit for me at the time. And that's really the slow work you have to do. But in the meantime, you have to do what you can to preserve your energy. If you're in a career or any situation that's really difficult, you've got to find ways to back off and take care of yourself in the meantime, because it can take time and not all of us have the ability to just walk away.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I like that you're saying that, because you're giving people a little nugget and a way to kind of take a baby step if they're looking to make a change or transition. I'm always a huge proponent of making sure you have your mentors. And so even if you are accomplished and where you are, maybe you've been in that career for quite some time and maybe you have achieved a high level or an okay level, well, you still need a mentor, because all the best people have coaches.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's so true. You learn so much from people who've exceeded where you are in your career and who care about you and have a vested interest in helping you along. And then, as you know, all of us like to return the favor when we can.
Yeah.
So now if there's somebody coming up in their career who I think I can help, have a conversation, open a door, I'm so happy to do that, because there were and still are amazing people doing that for me.
And see, I think I love that you say that, because I think a lot of people sit there and they're like, they just don't know where to start and don't feel like they have options. But there are so many people, at least I like to walk around the world thinking, there's so many people that want to help you.
Yes.
They want to help you.
They do, and it's the knowing who to ask and how to ask, and knowing that it's okay to ask. When I was single parenting for 4 years of my life and 3 kids, solo parenting, you needed help sometimes with rides, especially with, oh my goodness,
everything.
Something blew up at work and I need someone to hang out with after school.
Yes.
So working on your network and not being afraid to say, look, I'm really stuck for a ride. Do you think you could help? And always being willing to return the favor when I was available. If I wasn't working on a Friday, I'd be like, give me all your kids. I can drive everyone anywhere, help you out because you've helped me out. And people pay it forward that way. Yeah. But I love to help people. And so I'm glad I felt okay to ask people for help when I most needed it.
Yeah, a good reminder here is that the network has its relationship building, and it has to go both ways. I find you either have people who take too much without giving, or you have people that don't ask for help enough. You don't want to be either one of those people. You want to be the person that asks, but also the person that lends a hand, especially as a single mom. I mean, we have to shout out the single parents for sure, because that's a whole different lift, a whole different conversation. Okay, let us talk more about that. You had the support of what kinds of people are you encouraging other people to look for in their life or in their circle?
I think you need people who are close in proximity physically, for tactical things. Get to know your neighbors, the bus driver, the people in your kids' school community, the fellow parents of school kids, because they're going to be right there for you. In my expanded network, people I met through church, some of the dearest friends I have, I met through church just when our kids were at the same age, and they're the ones who make me laugh, who are there if the more emotional, deeper friendships. So it's not just who do I call if my kid needs a ride, but who do I call when things are coming apart or have a great joy that I want to share. It's
really developing and nurturing that community.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people are like, oh, I'm just doing this by myself. And it's like, okay, you might be, but also have you tapped into the network and the community?
Yeah.
And it takes a sense of being vulnerable. It's so hard to make friends as adults, but it takes a sense of being vulnerable. And I find that in my own friend circle that people are not asking for help.
Yeah, and sometimes you have to make the first move even to start the friendship, to get the friendship off the ground if you're an adult. You have to be brave enough to say, would you like to have coffee sometime? Or can I include you in this? I started up Margaritas with the Moms Night.
Oh, sign me up.
Back when my kids were younger, and some of the fun moms from the school, we formed a nice little bond, and that has carried forward. But someone has to put it together. And sometimes it can be a text thread. If that's all you have time for, my fairy sister friends, as I call them in the book, we have a great text thread. So if someone's having a rough day, a little humor in there, a little love and support that actually does something. Maybe not as good as meeting in person, which you have to prioritize, but it's still a thread of connection. And those keep us going in our hard times. And then there's someone to celebrate with when things go well.
Yes, yes. I don't want to gloss over that, especially because we're really shouting out some single parents, some single moms, their dads too. But you said you were a single mom for 4 years.
Yes.
So what happened there?
Went through a divorce, which was, as any divorce, is very painful, very difficult, and was raising the kids on my own. And then, as you'll see in the book, there's a great love story when my husband, my current husband now, and I met, and we're both really in a similar situation, single parenting, and just came together at exactly the right time and the right way. And now I'm just stunned by having such a wonderful partner and someone who's always there for me, and we just enjoy the same things. We're really into raising these kids together. So now we have a blended family, and always has its ups and downs, but I am so happy to be where I am now and have his support.
Yeah, I mean, you certainly, you have this zen about you, which I can appreciate. Do you think that that is just all due to the self-work that you have been able to put in?
It really is. I mean, his support has been great. My friend's support has been great. Changing careers at the right time has been very helpful. But the biggest change is mindset. And it was really after the final burnout that I describe in the book during the pandemic. Who didn't have some kind of a meltdown or burnout during the pandemic? But
right.
I really realized at that point that I have to change things fundamentally, outside and inside, and prioritize my peace over productivity. And I'm still a very productive person. In fact, I'm probably more productive than I ever have been, but it's on my pace, and I'm healthier. I'm resting more. I'm prioritizing walking and reading, and just taking time for my friendships, for the things that bring me joy. And guess what? I'm a better parent and I'm a better employee than when I'm going so hard that I'm depleted and cranky all the time. So it's work, though. It's every day. I have a necklace that one of my friends gave me.
And what does it say?
It includes a quote from Mary Oliver, the great poet who inspired the title of my book. And it's, "What is it you plan to do with your one wild and precious life?" And it helps me remember every day we get to make these choices. And this is our one shot, if you think that way. And don't waste your time on the things that are depleting and things that aren't lifting you up or lifting others up. So it's the prioritizing.
Yes, this certainly really struck a chord with me. I personally am dealing with grief after the passing of my mom, and it's been about a year. And so a wild, precious life, it really puts, when you have a life change like that, it really puts things in perspective and how you approach it, because you realize how precious it is. But one thing about all these words is wild. You talk about that in the book, and being able to approach life with this sort of fire. And, you know, why wouldn't you look at every day as an adventure or a possible adventure? Is it taking the, I don't want to call them mundane, but the regular cup of coffee and the workout and how you brush your teeth? Is it turning those things and how you look at those into a different perspective? Or is it seeking out wild adventures? What's the approach? Okay.
It's both, for sure.
All of the above, D.
Yes, you nailed it. The last chapter of the book is called The Wild, Precious, Beautiful, Ordinary. So, and it really does describe those everyday moments, walking our dog, having Taco Tuesday traditions.
Oh, we love a Tuesday.
Picking a tomato out of the garden, you know, like little things. You know, holding hands with your partner while you're walking. That's what makes it precious. But it's also wild because I was able to set up my life with more margin and more buffer. I was there when my college son and his baseball team, LSU Shreveport, went on the craziest run in baseball history and had a 59-0 perfect season.
Yes,
59-0. They made national news. I was there to see it. And in a previous life, I would have had to miss that because I wouldn't have been able to do it. So that was wild. Maybe you could
have been reading about your kid on the news.
How heartbreaking would it be to miss that?
Yeah,
but you're right.
You were there.
And I was there. So the big wild adventures that you do make time for, and the little stuff, the Taco Tuesday.
I love it. I love it. Okay, one thing you did talk about in the book is also suggesting that you advocate for work and schedule flexibility, which gives you more breathing room. What are your tips on how to do that? I love this because specifically for women, I think that we walk away from our careers or jobs, how we make money and provide for our family. I feel like a lot of times we do walk away too soon, which is difficult to say for other people, but you walk away too soon without asking for what you want. That's why it resonated for me. Even if, as outlandish as it is, if you want, I mean, who says this is outlandish, but if you only want to work 3 days a week, ask for it. You never know what someone might say.
That's absolutely true. And I think if you don't ask, you'll never know.
Yes.
And I've been in situations where I asked and I got a hard no, even though I'd made what I would suggest is make a very professional, detailed case on how this would benefit the organization, how you would accomplish what you want them to accomplish, what, kind of the checkpoints would be to make sure everything stays on track, try to reduce any hesitation they may have by making the case for why it would work. In one case, I presented that, and it was no, you knew what the job was before you had the kid. Literally got that response, which was hard, but they had the right to do that. But then in different situations, I advocated for a slight shift or working a slightly modified schedule that would help me, and it was fine, and it worked out. And give it a little switch, like even ending a workday 2 hours earlier and starting 2 hours earlier to be there in the after school can make a game-changing difference. So you don't know unless you ask.
Yeah. One thing about what you just said is that even though it was a no, you still had, you tell me, but I imagine you still had some peace because you advocated for yourself and asked for what you want. Even though it was a no, you still used your voice for you.
Absolutely.
And I think that is a powerful place to be.
Right. And then it also propelled me a little faster to think, well, after I received that no, and in that way, what else do I need to be doing with my wild and precious life instead of being in a place that doesn't fit?
That you had the kid, you knew what you were getting into when you had the kid. That's what a boss, a manager told her. So how many years ago was that?
Probably 20 years ago.
Okay.
20 years ago.
Okay. I would like to think that some progress has been made. I think it, of course, depends on the situation. It does seem like that's been a positive from the pandemic, the fact that there is a lot more flexibility for working parents. I know there have been some pushes to get more people back in the office and to get a bit more structure, but do you feel like there's been some progress? I know you're kind of at a different stage in life anyway, but.
I think there's progress in some areas. It all depends on the employer and the situation, though, really. So, I mean, there are some places who are much more family-friendly, flexible, understanding, and then there are some that are going to continue to be rigid. So it just can take some time to find the right environment that fits your life. But one thing I've said is if you feel like you're wanting too much or you're asking for too much, but you can't stop wanting it, keep trying, keep looking. Because something in your gut is telling you this doesn't really work for me. Keep looking for something that does work. It won't be perfect, but it could be a lot better.
Yeah. Okay, so another key, taking care of yourself. So can you share some examples of what it can look like and how it helps prevent burnout? So what does taking care of yourself look like? You know, there's been this whole thing about since the pandemic, self-care.
Yeah. One thing I've started doing is a morning routine that I read about a few years ago, the Miracle Morning. Hal Elrod is the name of the person who wrote the book and coined that. But it's really taking your mornings back and having a little routine that's just for you before you start going out and taking care of everybody else. So I adapted the routine for what works for me, but I'll have a slow cup of coffee while still sitting in bed every morning. I do a little journaling exercise where I write what am I grateful for, what are my priorities today, and the priorities are not a to-do list. The priorities are things like rest, take a walk, make sure to read a chapter of the book, call someone I care about, things that are actually nurturing to me.
Yes.
And then what do I need to be at peace with? So something that's bothering me, but just a reminder to try to be at peace with something that's difficult.
Yeah. Oh my God. Is this in the third book that you're gonna?
I mentioned it in here. I mentioned it in this book.
Okay.
And then I read Mary Oliver's poetry. You can read whatever it is that inspires you. Everyone has something, but it just puts me in the right mindset. And I try to get my walk in almost every day.
Okay, let's get to the logistics. What time are you getting up?
It depends on the day, but sometimes it's 6:30. It's not crazy. Some people will do like 5 a.m. and get a full workout in to do a full miracle morning. I'm not quite that avid, but like 6:30, and then about 7 I can start moving into mom gear and getting myself ready for the rest of the day and driving a kid to school and getting myself ready for my work.
Yeah. So for you, you found having a sacred morning is what is a good way for you to take care of yourself.
That is huge. And another thing I would say, and there's a whole chapter or two on this, is
yes, I'm on chapter 7, people. So we're still working our way.
You'll get there. I love that you're taking it seriously.
Yes. Well, I wanted to not only be prepared for my job and for this conversation, but you want to be able to have an authentic, communication about what's going on. Yeah.
But another piece is really your joy. So reminding yourself that it's not selfish to do the things that you love, even if it's not for somebody else. So like riding my bike. I love musical theater, so I don't get to perform as much anymore, but I'll go see shows. I'll sing show tunes with my friends. Occasionally over the years I've been in a show and really just enjoyed that whole experience. So whatever's your cup of tea, I would say, if it's a Pilates class, if it's running, if it's reading, like do the thing, even though it's not for someone else, because that is a big piece of how you stay burnout free, is doing something joyful.
Yeah.
If you lose your joy, you lose everything.
Yes, I appreciated that part in the book. The book is very introspective if you all decide to get it. But I do want to underscore that, because you're literally saying do something that have fun. And in the book, you talked about how you did this as a little kid. You performed on stage in theater and then picked it back up as an adult. I think most adults, probably almost all of us, can find something that we used to do that we no longer do, mainly because of time, but now we work, now we have kids. What has that felt like to pick something like that back up?
It's just magical. I mean, I think everyone should have something that they love to do so much that you lose yourself in the time. You can't help but smile. It's really, really wonderful. And then the people that I've met through that, they're also some of my dearest, closest friends, or people I've connected through the theater community, because we all have that in common, and that creative process is so special to me.
Maybe you have some sisterly advice for me, because I've been working on this.
Okay.
I don't have a hobby.
Oh, okay.
I don't have that thing. Of course, I try to work out. You want to be healthy for your kids and you want to look good. So I try to work out, but I want a hobby that's not physical like that. And I don't even know where it fits into the schedule.
Well, if you like reading,
advice. Fix it. Here's the problem, fix me.
I think sometimes people think about hobbies as too big of a thing. Like, do you like reading? Maybe reading is your hobby.
I do kind of like reading.
If you like listening to podcasts, that's your hobby. And then find someone else who likes to do it too, even if it's one other person.
Yeah.
That's enough for a hobby. If I just had a person, even a couple people, and create my own little book club and we're going to read and talk, it's conversation. You're a conversationalist.
Yes.
You're a journalist. You're a writer. So that's a hobby, having interesting conversations with people. Maybe your hobby is inviting people out for coffee or walking while you're talking.
Walking while you're talking. Walking while you're talking. I like where you're going with that. Okay, so maybe you think I'm overthinking it.
It doesn't always have to be as obvious as like, I'm a runner, I'm a singer. It can be, I just enjoy conversations with people.
In Michelle Obama's first book, she talked about the purpose of knitting in her life and how knitting helped her, particularly with, a high stress job and or, living next to the person that has a really high stress job. There were just major moments in their lives as the president and first lady. And she would just say how knitting, she felt like grounded her and put her back in present time, or just gave her something else to focus on instead of the big monstrosity of a president thing.
I love that. And I think people sometimes are surprised when you just try different things, what might stick. So that's another thing. Anything you're even mildly curious about, you don't have to be good at it. You just go try it. Just have a little taste. Like, I went to a wine and canvas night one night and did painting, and I'm not great at painting, but it was interesting. It was fun, and that could be a hobby too. Just try different things until you find something you like.
Okay, that for sure I can do, but at this point I'm definitely like, oh, how do I find the time to try things?
Right.
We'll get there. That's baby steps. Okay, let's talk about the kids, the value of your kids, seeing that you do prioritize yourself and your self-care as well as caring for them. I mean, I think it's good that my child sees that I do work and I provide and I know how to provide for my family. And but I think it's also good that they see that you also know how to rest and have joy and the magic in life, and that you take care of yourself. That's important too.
It's hugely important, because isn't that what we want for our kids?
That's true.
You wouldn't want your child to be just a workhorse and just giving, giving, giving. You want them to have joy in their life.
Yeah.
So we have to model that ourselves. Someone told me a long time ago, it was a great quote that has always stuck with me, but nobody wants a martyr for a mom or a dad. If you see your parent as only someone who's there to serve everyone and wear themselves out by taking care of everyone else, that's not a great model. You deserve to see a parent who takes care of themselves. There's a chapter in this book where I was inspired to really prioritize getting my kids into bed on time, so all I wanted that night was to take a bath and have like a little fruity drink and have a moment to myself. And my daughter at one point, because I was kind of rushing her through the bedtime routine, she's like, Mom, what is so important that you need us to get right to bed? I'm like, what is so important is I need to take a bath by myself tonight. And she was like, oh, okay, and didn't push back, but kind of understood that I needed my time, and I wasn't afraid to tell her, and I'm glad I wasn't.
Yeah, what age was she then?
She was probably about 5 or 6.
Okay. And a 5 or 6-year-old can understand, okay, this is what mommy is doing.
Yeah.
You took the time to kind of explain that, to take a second,
right,
essentially, and tell her. Okay. In the book, you started off by saying goodbye to your longtime TV anchor job, and you talk about looking in the mirror one last time, and what that felt like, and talking to yourself in the mirror one last time before you walked away from a career. Our careers, obviously, is something that's so specialized, especially being a TV news anchor. You have worked so hard and committed so much time and dedication to it. I think there are other careers out there like it too. And then to walk away from it is a big step. You end the book, which I haven't read the ending yet, but you end the book by addressing your former self in the mirror?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
You want to talk about it?
I would love to. So
you write a letter to that person.
I kept thinking when the anniversary of that date hit and I saw the picture, I kept thinking, well, I wish I could talk to my past self and let her know that this is all going to be okay and that this was a good decision, and give her some guidance for how to get through the next steps. So I did. I wrote a letter. I ended the book as a letter to my former self, kind of letting her know what was coming. And
it's kind of cathartic hearing it, and I'm sure it was writing it.
It really was. Would you like me to read it?
Please.
Okay.
Look, my Bible's already open. Turn your
That might be an overstatement, but
turn your pages to, okay, go ahead.
Yeah, page 127. I'd really love to tell my past self a thing or two. Actually, I will. Dear woman in the mirror, there is a new world of beauty, joy, and peace ahead of you. In time, you'll learn how to make sure you never have to go back to a place where your mind and body are being consumed by the fire of out-of-control demands. Keep reading Mary Oliver's poetry. She's an important guide, helping you learn to find peace and beauty in what the sun is lighting up all around you. Keep nourishing your friendships and your relationships with your family. They are priceless. Keep pursuing financial freedom. Know your worth. Stay focused on experiences versus stuff, and build resources that provide you with options. Keep believing in your ability to recover from setbacks and changes. You're so much stronger than you think. In time, your heart rate and swirling mind will slow down, and you'll be able to fully appreciate all the delicious moments and milestones ahead. Kids growing up and sharing their life updates, enjoying a slow cup of coffee before getting out of bed, playing pickleball in the park. That might sound ridiculous, but trust me, it's happening. My former self would not have believed that. Stealing kisses with your sexy, smart husband who adores you and makes your heart feel calm and happy. Walking hand in hand down to the neighborhood pub for a pint. Straightening your daughter's graduation cap. Sipping coffee or wine with friends on a front porch. Singing Christmas carols around an out-of-tune piano. Holding your first grandchild. Picking a fresh tomato from the garden. Cheering at college baseball games. Leisurely phone calls with your parents while walking around the neighborhood. Reading outside while soaking in the sun. Dancing in the kitchen. Burnout feels crushing, but on the other side are new beginnings with more beauty than you can imagine. Keep feeding your slow burning fire. Enjoy every bit of its warmth. Go easy, soak up the light, don't be afraid to shine, and do what you can in your way to help others do the same.
I love it.
Thank you.
I love it. I love it. especially do what you can to help others do the same.
That's what it is. And if I'm doing this with you and one person sees this and thinks to take better care of themselves and prioritize their wild and precious life, then we've done a great thing today.
Yes, I agree. Cheers with our book. Cheers with our book. We don't have cocktails, but cheers with the book. I appreciate that. I appreciate you being brave enough to share your story and say, I'm going to write a book, not just one, two, and a third one.
Well, we'll see.
We'll see. Because we're not putting pressure on ourselves like that.
I'm just going to enjoy the moment right now.
Trisha, I appreciate you.
Thank you, Felicia.
Thank you. Okay, so we are going to have more on Trisha's book, Wild Precious Life by Trisha Lawless. We're going to have more on WTHR.com. Thanks for being here.
Thank you.